afternoon, everybody, and good morning to Mr. Brian, and good morning to others of you who are joining. I would like to thank everyone who had joined this webinar. This webinar is recorded. Therefore, we're going to share the recording earlier for those who were not able to attend. And I think that everything is muted in order to make useful of this only 30-minute webinar. However, should you have any questions, please send them in the chat, and I'm certain that Mr. Brian, our distinguished guest, will be happy to answer your questions. For those of you who don't know me, I am Solomon. I am a retired Jordan Army Lieutenant Colonel, electrical engineer with almost 20 years experience in the ICT technology. And I'm Green Circle General Manager. I'm gonna just give you a very short brief. Yeah. Green Circle, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Green Circle is a cybersecurity solutions company. We do consulting services like security testing, security consulting, incident response, threat intelligence. We do compliance services as well, and you can see we have the full range of cybersecurity solutions, starting from identifying the threats, protecting, detecting, responding, and recovering. Our security services is, as you know, managed security services through packages, depending on the number of users, on the customer requirement, and other than this. We also have technology partners from all over the world, including Niagara, Flashpoint, SyncDog, and many others. Most importantly, we are the only official ISC Squared training center in Jordan. Green Circle also owns a US-based university called Diance University. It's a university that offers a master's degree in cyber and in data science and cyber security. Finally, Green Circle has partnerships with educational institutes, including Princess Sumaya University, where we have our Middle East Cybersecurity for Excellence. It's a research and development center. We have our SOC is based in the Jordan University of Science and Technology. It's called the Shmach SOC. Of course, we talked about Diance University. We have locally developed solutions that were developed in the Middle East Cyber Security Center for Excellence at Princess Sumaya University. Thank you. That's all about Green Circle. Our distinguished guest, Mr. Brian, is the Chief Revenue Officer at SyncDog. He is a veteran sales strategist and executive leader with over 30 years of expertise of enterprise software experience. His experience is in business development, leadership, gives him a unique perspective in helping early-stage companies. He has vast experience in selling into the Fortune 500, Global 2000, as well as the SMB market. He has experience in both private and public sectors. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Brian. The floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Finally, I would like to say that we are gathering today to address one challenge in the cyber and network security. Mr. Brian is going to show us how you will enable your employees to work efficiently and effectively, not only from home, but from everywhere In particular, due to this COVID-19 that we are in, many people are working not from their desks. Can you share your screen? Thank you for joining us, and thanks to our guests.
Great. I will pull up my slide deck here. Are you able to see my slide deck now?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Suleiman, for the introduction. I do truly appreciate it. Like Suleiman said, my name is Brian Eggenreiter. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for SyncDog. We're a Washington, D.C. based cyber company out of the United States, and very excited to now be working with Green Circle to represent our solution in your area of the country. But the partnership seems to have a lot of great potential just with your expertise, obviously, Suleiman, and that of your organization. And I think the kind of game-changing, next generation type of approach that we have to data security, device security, endpoint security. As Suleiman said, especially over the last year, it's become very apparent that the workforce is changing. COVID has pushed people to be in different parts of their area where they normally work. Very few people are in the office, and there's been this whole tagline of work from home and how do we enable that. But I think with the realization of almost the success of this work from home strategy, there's a whole new concept called work from anywhere, where I think the workforce is going to be changing. The days of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or Sunday through Thursday, whatever the cultural aspects of your work week is, or showing up to the office, getting your job done, and going home are probably changing. It's now going to be in the office sometimes, work from home sometimes, work from a coffee shop sometimes, whatever the case may be. But these workers are going to be expecting to be able to get their work done from wherever they are. And with that becomes some responsibility. How do you give them access to the data they need to get to the job done? But just as importantly, how do you protect that data to make sure sensitive corporate or government data is not leaked into the hands of people that do not need to have it or should not need to have it? So what SyncDog is all about is simply that. How do we empower organizations to enable their employees to get their jobs done wherever they are with whatever device they have on hand? So what we're ultimately looking to do is bring these organizations, government or corporate, a very powerful, device management, data encryption capability that basically says, hey, we know that whoever is accessing that data is the person they say they are. We know the device that they are using to get it is going to be protected and secure. So therefore, we should be more comfortable enabling more and more data to be out there, because there's this comfort and trust between your IT and security teams to be able to enable those employees with the data, knowing that everything is going to be safe. And that is, what SyncDog's mission is all about, is how do we, allow companies and organizations to make this next step into this work from anywhere mindset and almost architecture, where they can comfortably have this trust between employees who are outside the traditional four walls of the organization, because those IT and security teams will have this very granular control of both data access and the data protection itself, where they know this data is going to be safe. So, our ultimate goal is obviously to just, again, further enable organizations to flex with the changing world that we're in today, and do it cautiously yet aggressively. And kind of the pat ourselves on the back slide here, but the market's taking notice. Last year we did a strategic partnership with Zimperium, a very noted mobile threat detection solution that made headlines, but probably even more importantly, just within the last week, believe it or not, we made the cover of CIO Bulletin as a top 10 mobile, or I think it's not even mobile, top 10 security company. So we were listed as one of the top 10s, and again, made the cover on that. And then probably the best news we got is just late last week, AMA, a very noted market analyst company, did research on the mobile security software space, the mobile data protections or mobile data security space, and labeled that SyncDog was going to be one of the top leaders, and expected massive growth. So I hope that's good news for everybody on this call. That you're listening, or at least talking to a market leader who's on to the right track, who's doing the right thing, that's going to enable your companies again to flex and do more with the data you have, with the employee base being as remote as they want or need to be. Any questions so far? I'm going to dive in a little bit more to the products themselves and the architecture. Well, I guess Suleiman, I'm assuming you're monitoring any chats or questions that might be coming up. So just stop me if a question comes up that might be relevant that should be answered right away. But real quickly, what SyncDog really is all about is what I alluded to before. An all-in-one. Was there something, Suleiman?
No, that's fine. Sorry. Thank you. Go ahead.
No problem at all. What we're all about is offering our customers and partners an end-to-end, or a kind of all-in-one device security solution that is going to protect the devices. It's going to protect the data. It's going to detect malware and phishing type of attacks. And it's also going to give you an ability to take native and hybrid apps and use them in a private app store to be able to distribute them privately amongst employees and the people that need them, without having to publish them on the public app stores. So again, the goal is to give you a very modular approach, which is very important to this, to be able to address whatever business process concerns you have. So it's no longer a one size fits all. It's no longer a, hey, the senior executives of your company, you're going to have the exact same setup as maybe field service people that are in the field 24 hours a day, or their entire times of the work, as the same setup as maybe your HR and accounting teams that don't work a lot outside the four walls of the organization, and just as importantly as third-party contractors. So with SyncDog, we address all those various scenarios and give you a modular approach to do it, where it doesn't have to be one size fits all. And we give you a centralized management console where you can manage all this with a single view, a single pane of glass, as we call it. Breaking it down a little bit further, the mobile device management, probably one of the more common pieces of technology that we have, or at least that most of you are probably familiar with. And it does just what you would expect an MDM solution to do. It offers device protection, password enforcement, the ability to control, whitelist, blacklist application access, that you can control that a device is only going to be allowed to access these applications, or it won't be allowed to access specific applications. And then of course, device wipe capabilities and things like that. This slide's actually a little outdated, I apologize. So certainly available for iOS and Android, but now Windows, and as of mid-March, we'll be supporting Mac OS as well. So, not only just mobile devices, but your laptops, desktops running Windows and Mac OS. So again, the key here, be able to control those devices, know who's accessing it, make sure those devices are as secure as possible, to help you then roll into some other aspects of what we do. The SyncDog Trusted Mobile Workspace is, it's basically a containerization solution, sandboxing solution, however you want to phrase it. But what's key here is it's an absolute separation of work and personal data on a single device. And so what that means is, with MDM protecting the device, this Trusted Mobile Workspace solution encrypts the data. And this is probably one of the most important pieces, because as we all know, malware approaches, phishing attacks, and things like that kind of get around a lot of the traditional device protections, strategies and approaches. what this combination of now an MDM plus a trusted mobile workspace is going to do is, let's protect the device, of course, but even if that device is malware is on it, it's hacked, there's phishing attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, your data is still going to be encrypted and protected. Yeah, they might be able to see pictures of your kids and pets and grandparents and things of that sort, or maybe message strings that you have with friends and family. But anything work related, corporate related, is going to be completely isolated from that. Isolated and almost risen up a level that again, they'll be able to see personal data, but they will not be able to get into your corporate or government data that's on that same device. And probably just as importantly, what that means is, sorry, Suleiman, I'll wrap this up here in a second. What that also means is that you can now also protect data on a BYOD device, a personal device, devices that you maybe, the end user refuses to have an MDM profile or to have it managed. And then that's where this extends also into those third-party workers that might have devices given to them from their, the organization that they actually work for, that you couldn't put an MDM solution on there because one might already exist. But a solution like this allows you to set up an email account for them, share data that way, share different files and apps that they might need access to. And as soon as that work project is over, their contract expires, you can wipe that data right off their device without impacting anything else on that device. So that, this workspace is a really powerful capability, and most importantly, built around, U.S. government DoD level security. So a fully FIPS, if the FIPS certification is relevant in your part of the world, but know that it's you need a FIPS certification to work with DoD organizations in the U.S. here, and we have full FIPS certification with AES 256-bit encryption at rest, in use, and in transit. So highly secure, but the goal is to make sure that's all somewhat behind the scenes in a very easy to use environment. I'm sorry, Suleiman, was there a question?
That's fine. In fact, one of our distinguished attendees asked a question, and I believe you already answered it, which is what devices and operating system supports. It's not only as I understood from yourself, that it's not only mobile devices. So it's also any kind of devices that are provided by the organization.
That's
right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. So again, the goal is to, what we're trying to do is flex our product.
Moreover, you support the Android and the iOS, both.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. That was a question from one of our attendees. Thank you.
No problem at all. Yeah, so kind of going back to our very first slide, the goal here again is to really be able to offer a solution to our partners and their customers that flexes to the needs of what the various organization, various roles and titles, or various positions within an organization need specific to those functions. And then, even down to the end user. So in most mobile, certainly, or device level type of protections, again, it's a one size fits all. It's, hey, nobody in the organization can access this application, or everybody in the organization has to access or can only access this set of applications, things like that, or everybody in the company has this complexity of passcode and things like that, and you have to change it every 3 months. Those types of things don't always work. A field technician who might be up on a line, fixing a high voltage wire, you don't want to have fumbling with, different types of passwords if they're accessing a device and things of that. But again, that's the big vision. But back to the workspace here. Just because we don't have time for a demo, we have a couple screenshots here. But again, I'll invite anybody on this call that's interested. We're happy to work with Suleiman and his team to set up a demo for you, give you a hands-on trial. But if you look at the 3 images here, how our workspace actually presents itself is, if you look in the left image, you see a red box around the SyncDog logo. So basically, if you look, that's just, anybody's normal type of setup on their phone, maps, your camera, your probably travel apps, some music type of apps that you have. But when it comes time to access your corporate data, you want to get into your work email, you want to look at various files and things of that. You click on the SyncDog app, you authenticate either with whatever passcode you set up, again with profile and user level capabilities of some may have very complex, some might not need as much of a complex password, or certainly biometrics, fingerprint or facial recognition, whatever the device supports, get you into our application here. And the two on the right is basically what SyncDog's containerization or trusted mobile workspace looks like. A whole suite of business applications centralized in one environment that's highly encrypted and highly controlled by your administrators and IT team to control what data is allowed and what's accessed, full logging to know exactly when something was accessed. So, for, whatever types of issues that might come up that you need that. But as you would expect, email, calendar, contact, like we said, but we have secure browsing, or an internet browser that's completely encrypted. Again, we've got file share capabilities, both a native file application share that we offer, but we also support OneDrive, Box, and Dropbox. Very interesting. We also have a separate image capture. Go ahead.
So once you enter the trusted mobile workspace, then data cannot be brought, or can data be brought into the container, or take out data from this trusted mobile workspace from the container?
No, it cannot. So copy paste is obviously prevented, so you're not allowed to move data in and out.
And how about in the
in the what?
So it is a secure. So it is a secure container that contains the organizational data that the admin have full control on it.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, and what about when a device is lost, or Mr. Brian?
Yeah, and that's a really, really good point, because what a lot of people overlook is the simplicity of this problem, which is typically when an employee loses a device, they rarely go right to IT or your security team and say, hey, I lost my device, because they know they've got personal data on that device. They've got other apps that they don't want to lose that data. They don't want to risk having all. So they spend a couple hours, a couple days, sometimes a couple weeks looking for that device before they go and tell IT. The beauty of what we're offering here is that the whole sync part of SyncDog is that all this data is constantly syncing with your backend server. So, if you do lose or misplace this device, especially if you left it in a hotel room that you might not get back to for another day or two, or you have to wait for them to send the mail. Maybe your administrators might just lock the application so you can't get into it. And then, once you find it, they send you a new code that you just enter the new code and it opens it up. But, if the device is lost or stolen, they can wipe this data in with everything within this application, easily wipe that data off the device. Again, it's already synced with your back end without touching. They not only won't they touch any of the personal data, they can't. So this is an absolute separation. So you can easily wipe the data on this within our environment, within the trusted mobile workspace. And then the beauty is, once that employee either gets a new phone or finds that phone, you just send another QR code, they scan the QR code, they enter in their password, and it immediately syncs with the very last time they used this. So they don't lose a bit of data. There's nothing lost, but everything is protected. So now there's a trust again between the employee and the IT and security teams that, hey, I know I left it in a restaurant, I've got to run back to the office for meetings. I won't be able to get to it for a few hours. Just lock it, and I'll get to it in a few hours. So you really build up that ability to, again, control the data and protect your environment.
And Mr. Brian, what type of encryption do you use?
So it is, well, again, FIPS doesn't run. It's full AES 256-bit encryption, again, at rest, in use, and in transit. And
if a customer has the choice to deploy this in the cloud or on their premises, do you have those options?
Thank you. I think I forgot to talk about that. Yes, so we offer a cloud-based version, and kind of a big differentiator for us is a fully on-premise version. And the key there with the on-premise version is you never lose access to your own data. There's other solutions on the market that have an on-premise solution, but it still goes through a centralized NOC or things like that. So the end user actually loses control of their data for whatever time frame while it's going through or not. With ours, it's a fully on-prem. You control your data, from end to end, and it's again highly secure. So again, we were built around one of the secretive agencies within the federal government. So the encryption and the protection in the back end is highly capable. Oh, and we also offer a hybrid. If say you want your email maybe hosted in a cloud solution, but everything else on an on-prem, we support that as well. So it's on-prem, hybrid, or cloud-based offerings. So whatever fits your model the best.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any of our attendees would like to ask anything, we can unmute or send it on chat.
Yeah, and one thing I just realized I forgot too, because a big differentiator here when you were talking about being able to move data in and out of the trusted mobile workspace. Another key here is that you can move data between apps within the workspace securely. A big difference between what we do and a lot of other technologies that are doing app wrapping type of methodologies, or there are a lot of people that say they've got a full containerization capability, but really what they are is a centralized launcher of individually wrapped apps. But what that means is they're protecting the data at rest, but as soon as you copy and paste something from an email, or you open an attachment from an email and it moves to something else, that moves into clear text and is vulnerable. With SyncDog, you can, we support this method or this model where you get an email that has a zip file within our environment. You can unzip that file, view all the various aspects of it. We've got a full Office document editor where, say you've got one of the documents in the zip file is a spreadsheet. You can open it, not only just view it, but edit that spreadsheet, edit a document, sign a PDF document, save it off into your file management, put it back in an email and send it back to somebody. And that process is encrypted and protected end to end. There are very few or maybe no other products on the market that support that scenario. Again, you're going to have a lot that say, oh, we'll protect those apps, but it's really only at rest. And then they rely on a VPN, a separate VPN solution that is going to protect it in transit. But everybody knows that with VPN type solutions, you're working offline is not a possibility. So we solve all of those problems.
We have two questions from our guests.
Sure.
So the first question is for the on-prem setup, how many servers needed for the deployment?
The recommended is 3 servers. I mean, I would say the minimum is probably 2, because you're always going to want one in the DMZ because of the way we're set up. Should probably have a technical person answer it, but it's more of a pool technology, so there's no unwarranted movement of data. So probably 2 at a minimum, 3 recommended, and then it's data load from there, depending on what size of data you're doing. So size of the database will determine it from there. But our application itself has a pretty small footprint.
And the second question is SyncDog a virtual appliance or a software?
It's a software. We are not an appliance.
Perfect. Mr. Brian, I would like to thank our attendees and thank you. Do you need to add anything else, or are we?
No, other than here's more of a list of the products, and we're happy to send this deck out to anybody that wants it. But I think we've spoken about everything in here, but this kind of sums it up. We didn't touch a whole lot on the productivity suite, other than I hit a little bit on the ability to edit those Office 365 type documents. But no, I think we covered most of it. And I'm sure we didn't, we only scratched the surface. So again, I'll invite anybody to, work with Suleiman and his team, and happy to set up demos or even trial environments. It's a very easy to install. And maybe one other point, Suleiman, sorry, is you can have a user set up and running on this in minutes. And then you do have a ton of capability to flex the environment to really match those business processes, but you can get people up running in minutes, and then constantly just be tailoring it to truly fit your environment. But it's again a very simplistic environment to use, with a lot of security capability in the background.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian, for being with us so early.
No problem at all.
And thanks very much to our distinguished attendees. And as Mr. Brian said, you are kindly invited. If you like to try it, just send me an email, and Mr. Brian and the SyncDog team. Thanks also to Ted, who's with us, and we'll be happy to send you a trial license to try it for 2 or 3 weeks. Thank you, everyone. And sorry for waking you early. Thank you so much. I think there are no further questions.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Green Circle. Be aware, be secure.